All right. So thank you for joining. So welcome to the build an AI-driven LinkedIn lead generation system to 3x your sales. The purpose of today is really to give you some tangible tools and actions that you could take to increase your opportunities with LinkedIn. So I don't know about you, but this was my dialer for a long time. Didn't have CRMs, didn't have really good contact data, mostly using the phone book. And there was a company I worked for early in my career where they would give us these lead lists, and it was just company after company, and we would have to dial for dollars, and we had to make 200 calls a day or we got fired. Basically, it was at the end of the week. If we didn't average 200 calls a day or more, you didn't have a job. So not great work environment. It was very much like a boiler room. But I remember I couldn't put the phone down because if I put the phone down, it would add up to seconds and minutes throughout the day. And you had to get 50 by the first break, 50 by lunch, 50 by the second break, and 50 by the end of the day. And it was just dialing for dollars. Things have definitely changed over the years. LinkedIn is one of the best places to get contacts and to get really good data on those contacts because it's self-reported, right? And most times it is pretty accurate if they're in a B2B setting. Obviously, you're here because you know that there's money on LinkedIn, there's opportunity, maybe you've been frustrated by your results, and you really want to grow this thing to the next level. Lots of opportunity here. So overall, if you look at some of the stats, especially over the course of the past several years, and when you look at it in bulk, 81% of salespeople that were polled say that they don't have enough leads. If you look at the cost of acquisition over the past 10 years for businesses, it's actually up 70%, not factoring in inflation. So if you took that dollar amount and factored in inflation, it's still up 70%. So it's getting harder and harder to get business. And part of it is if you think about a sales professional, you have your CRM, you have LinkedIn, hopefully you have Sales Navigator, you have your email system, there's all these disparate systems. The average is like 10 systems for a sales professional that they're accessing to get their job done. And in order to do it like that, it's not scalable. And then on top of it, B2B tech has one of the lowest lead conversion numbers in the industries. So the good news is AI can really transform how you're doing it. And companies using AI are 7 times more likely to meet or exceed their organizational goals. Forbes says 83% of buyers who purchased an AI platform in the past 3 months got a positive ROI. That's transformative compared to what you typically see in acquiring a system of some sort. But this is the one that really excites me. And it reminds me of a quote out there that says, AI will not take your job. The companies and the people that use AI will. And what Harvard Business Review said was it isn't about replacing salespeople, it's about supercharging them. And companies that are using AI for sales have seen 50% more leads and 60 to 70% shorter call times. That obviously has to do with inbound leads, but really powerful stuff. So if you don't know me, my name is Brian Higgins. I've been in B2B sales for over 20 years, and I've had lots of positions in direct sales and sales leadership. And I'm also the co-founder of ADA, which stands for AI Digital Assistant. Not really here to talk much about that. I'm going to talk more about LinkedIn and the tools that we use. But I find it interesting because I've always had a side business, I guess you could say. I've always been an entrepreneur for many years. I've sold things on Amazon, coaching, consulting, all kinds of stuff. And about 4 years ago, I started a marketing agency with a business partner, and we still have that today. And that marketing agency we did a lot of automation. I've always looked for ways to automate what I'm doing and improve how I'm doing it and more efficiently. And then 2 years ago or so, when AI really started becoming more commercially available, I took that and I basically started learning APIs and software and coding and different pieces of that and using AI to do that. I ultimately hire out things to engineers that are too complex for me, but I like to understand how things are built, especially to sell it better. My sales engineers that would always come with me, I would listen to them explain things and really learn how to do it and how to build it. And so bottom line is I am now the chief AI sales officer for Ada, and you would be, I don't know, it surprises me that I'm building these cool systems. And obviously my family is the reason I do this thing every day in and day out. All right. That's enough of an opening. Really, the reason we're here today, I'm going to give you a tool that's going to help you optimize your profile. And you're going to be able to plug in some basic information in, and it will spit out specific headlines, suggestions, an audit of your profile, and some other things. I'm not going to spend too much time as to do this, do that, because the tool is going to give you a lot of those answers, but I do want to spend a few minutes on it. The most of what we're going to talk about is how to leverage AI powered outreach and some free automation tools that I'm going to give you to do that with. Okay. First off, in terms of a profile, ultimately you want to attract your ideal customer and you want to convey trust and be genuine, right? And ultimately it should be part of your sales process and part of your funnel, especially if you're reaching out to people. So this was just somebody random that I found. This guy is a director of sales, and he's using his headline to tell his title, which is fine. But ultimately, if I'm a customer or prospect and I look at somebody's LinkedIn profile and it just says I'm a director of sales, I probably would get turned off, right? Whereas this person, when I see their link or their headline, I can see helping you learn programming and get a better job, right? That's a value proposition. 260,000 thriving students. That's social proof. It's credibility, right? Learn how to code and start earning in 3 months. That is a shorten the perceived risk with minimal work with a high output, right? And faster path to money. So really, this woman does a great job of conveying that trust. So again, I'm going to give you the free optimizer tool. The only other things I wanted to touch on that are not covered in the optimizer tool is some things you can do to your profile in addition to editing the headline and some of the copy, all right, and the pictures, right? Obviously the headline, photo, and conveying that trust, right? And that's going to be suggested. But one of the things you could do is get verified. So Clear offers a verification to do just validate your driver's license and that you are who you say you are and you're not a bot or an AI profile or a fake. So that adds a little bit of trust. But the one I like is the extra branding, right? You could use pronouns in this area. So he, him, she, her, they, them, right? So if you don't want to use that, you could add some extra branding. So every time someone sees your name in a message, in a post, in a anything, it's going to have that extra branding. So I put the AI sales guy to add something there. The other thing is if you have you can see it here. See, it says my name and then it says the AI sales guy. So that's the branding. And it has the beginning of my headline here. Also, you can add a custom link if you have a premium profile. So if you use Sales Navigator, ultimately you can add a premium link here. So this could say view my portfolio, view my website, book an appointment. And that's a good use of real estate because after every post, every message, anything you send to someone, it has these things on there. So the beginning of your headline, the pronouns, and a virtual link. So if you are posting information and you're doing things, really powerful to use that. All right. All right. Next, let's talk about personalized outreach. So AI gives us something that we did not have over many years, and it gives you the ability to personalize that outreach and use data at a higher scale, right? If you think about the manual outreach, right? So if you have, say you want to reach out to 50 new people a day and you're prospecting, whether you're doing that via phone or email, a lot of people are sending emails and messages, and that's fine. maybe phone is not as effective. It is a good tool still, but if you're crafting those personal messages, you got to research the prospect, which is time consuming. You got to craft these personal messages, which is ineffective. It takes too much time. It's just not scalable, right? And you can use templates and plug in specific variables, but it's not personalized and it doesn't give you that same feel. Now, when you're talking about reaching out via LinkedIn, so if you're not aware, Microsoft owns LinkedIn. They acquired them in 2016 for $23 billion cash, right? They knew what it was. And ultimately, LinkedIn, as Microsoft has taken over, they boxed in some of the things that you can do on it unless you're paying for a higher profile, right? So LinkedIn is free, but if you want to get really the good connection request limits, you want to send personalized messages, you want to do these things, you got to have Sales Navigator. That's really, if you're using it for sales, you got to do it. And then 3 months ago, it was actually 4 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago now, but when this was posted, when inviting members to connect, you can only do a personalized message for up to 5 connection requests unless you have a premium profile, right? So if you're paying for Sales Navigator, you can send all your connection requests as personalized. But if you don't, you can only do 5. Okay. And those 5 can only include 200 characters, which is fine. You don't want to send a long this document to send a connection request, but you can only personalize 5 unless you're premium. But these limits, the ones that you want to be mindful of is when you have an optimized profile, you can actually send 40 connection requests a day. Okay. You want to stay within that limit to not, have problems. Also, it basically totals, you can only do 200 a week, right? So that you average 40 a day for every business day, 200 a week, right? And those are the limits you want to work in. So you got to really you got to have Sales Navigator if you want to take sales seriously on LinkedIn. I do have a link that'll give you 2 free months. Doesn't, I have a limit on how many I could share, but I could show you how to do that. So if you want to get LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can get 2 months free if you don't already have it. All right. So I want to talk about let me think, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I presented at Panasonic to basically their sales force about using LinkedIn and personalized messaging and personalized emails and phone calls and stuff that I called the Dream 100. And the concept was I'm going to target 100 people or 100 specific laser targeted people in addition to my mass outreach. Okay. And then it's going to be very personalized. I'm going to take the time to do it. This is 2022. And if anything about commercialized AI around OpenAI and when Claude from Anthropic started coming out and ChatGPT and stuff like that, that was the end of 2022. It was November 2022. So right before that, I was talking about how to automate some things and using some tools to personalize and do automated outreach. And so when AI came out, I really doubled down on it and started using it. But this concept of using LinkedIn and email and phone and sending personalized outreach really became the cornerstone of some of the things I'm doing today and really launched it. And Panasonic is a current customer of mine that I do LinkedIn, email, and phone call outreach for prospecting. So basically we take it on for their rep, we come from their rep and we do this outreach. And AI has really transformed what we can do. So the process of how to do this on LinkedIn is the best thing you can do is start off with identifying some customers that you already have. Let's say you sell really well into the legal vertical or the medical vertical or the transportation logistics, whatever it is, you have some case studies, right? Finding more people like that to leverage is extremely helpful in the social proof, right? And getting that across that first step. Okay. Now, what you would do is identify that person and build a list. And I'm going to show you how to build the list on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Okay. And then, like I said, including that proof by identifying those same customers that you have some case studies for. Okay. You use AI. Once you have that list, the list takes a few minutes to build that list ultimately. Once you have that, you can use AI to craft the message and gather the data, then craft the message. Okay. And I'm going to give you some tools on how to do that. Okay. Now, in terms of building your list, there's some basic stuff that you would want to use, right? So geography, industry, functions, seniority, company type, right? This will narrow your list and make sure that you're in there. So you would add these types of filters. But there's some other things you can do to really get a good quality list, right? One of them is they posted on LinkedIn. This is basically in the past 60 days, they posted something on LinkedIn, whether it was a like or a share or a comment or anything, they posted on LinkedIn. That means they're active, right? You don't want to be sending messages to people who haven't logged in 10 years. So that's really helpful. It'll narrow your list, but it'll increase the output from that list. Okay. The other thing is you could do, which is called connections of. So you can only do this with people you're connected to. So I'll give you an example. I was selling rugged devices to businesses, specifically contractors under FedEx. Okay, so I was selling rugged devices to FedEx contractors. Okay, and there's tens of thousands of contractors all across the country. And I was also selling into Amazon, and Amazon was a new account for us. So I would look at the sales reps for FedEx and the sales rep for Amazon from my competitor, and I was connected to them. And so I would basically say connections of this sales rep who I knew for a fact sold to these companies, the competing product. And then I would filter by the company, and I would find all the people I needed to talk to who were decision makers at these companies, right? It's garbage in, garbage out. If the person doesn't work on LinkedIn and they don't use LinkedIn, you're obviously not going to get some good data. But if they are active on LinkedIn and they are using it and they're connecting with people and they're doing social connecting, really a gold mine of data, right? So another thing you could do is there's a hiring jobs one, right? Like if you sell something that has to do with movement of positions, like maybe they're growing, maybe they're shrinking, maybe you have a solution that's specific for a sales rep, or and you, like for me, like I might target companies that they're hiring sales reps, and because they're hiring BDRs, and I can help supercharge that BDR position using AI. Some really cool stuff. So you build your list, and the goal here is to get 800 prospects per month, because if you could send 200 connection requests a week, right, you can do 800 a month on average. So that's the number you want to get. So you don't have to just build 800, right? Like I build out 6 months at a time and I start a campaign, right? Or 3 months at a time, I start a campaign. So I might get 2,400 contacts to start reaching out. Okay. Once you build that list, the data of the individual has a lot of information, right? So here's Andy Jassy. He's the president and CEO at Amazon. Okay. You have where he's from. You have his job history. He posts where his positions he's had, activities, posts, likes, connection requests, followers, education, licenses, right? You have all this data. And what this data gives you is the ability to build a profile. Okay. So one of the things that we do is we build these AI business development agents that go out and it'll take the prospect's profile. So let's say I built that prospect profile, that prospect list of 800. I'm going to go out and I'm going to find the jobs, the connection, the positions, what they did, their education, and it gives me an ability to build a disc profile. And I can understand what their primary and their secondary trait is that understands what type of person they are, right? So if I'm an accountant and I take these accounting jobs, I know that I'm more analytical than I am if I'm a salesperson. If I'm a sales leader, I'm going to be very dominant. There's all these things that help us build a profile. So we build these disc profiles for these prospects, right? And what that does is it helps us build the strategy, right? So before writing an email, before putting a campaign together to reach out to individuals, I'm going to use these data-driven insights to build the what to do, what not to do, right? So in my message to Andy Jassy, I'm going to use data-driven insights. I'm going to be concise and direct, and I'm going to highlight wins. What I'm not going to do is get overly emotional appeal and, hey, how you doing today? I'm not going to do that. So the AI is smart enough to build this profile and reference it to outline all the outreach. Really powerful. I'm going to give you some tools again on how to do this and get this type of data. Okay. You could also do this for the company and the current position that they're in, right? So if I know what company they're in and what they're selling, I could get a really good idea of their challenges, right? And how my product helps fill that gap. So I have a profile for me as the seller of what I sell and what problems it solves. Then I have an understanding of the business and the position and the challenges that they have. And it really puts together an enhanced sales process. So I know, like for my product where I'm doing AI sales outreach, I know based on their challenges, I can do enhanced prospecting, personalized outreach, increase productivity, and scale their sales process and give their salespeople more tangible things, right? So really powerful. And as a result, it's going to increase the connection requests. It's going to develop better messages that are value driven and stand out. It leads with their actual pain points and articulates the value of their product. And it sends customized messaging based on their data, right? Really powerful, right? All right. Let's talk about the tools. So tools with AI automation. So if you don't know what these symbols are on the top right, you have ChatGPT. These are language models. Okay. Language models are basically AI, right? They're AI brains, if you will. And there's several out there. So ChatGPT is probably the most well-known. You also have Claude from Anthropic over here. You have Llama from Meta. You have Gemini, right? You have all these, you have all these different tools. And as a result, the AI is put into all these other tools that help you do outreach, right? And helps you get data and you can build these things. So there's AI. That's why all these AI features are coming out on all these tools, but really they're being driven by this top with all these different AI language models. And the language model is really a brain. I'm going to give you access to the following tools. Okay. Profile Optimizer, we talked about. The 2 free months of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, we talked about. I'm going to share that with you as well. But also, I'm going to give you a prospect research tool. This you put in the LinkedIn profile. I'm going to show you what all these tools are, actually. We're going to jump into this real quick. And I'm going to explain all these. I'm going to send you the link after this. But basically, this is a tools page that we built that's different from our website, specifically for people that register for this training. And we built these AI workers that are voice, messaging, and database nurture-based and enriched-based. So first you have 2 sales research tools. Okay, so from a company research, you'll go in here and you put in your prospect business name, the website, the prospect name, and their title, and it'll spit out, and then your company website link that includes products you sell, right? So like, I'm going to put in, let's say I put in the data, it's going to spit out all this information and give you some really good research on that prospect's business. Okay. And it gives you their challenges and their title and all the issues there. Right. Then you could go into the prospect research tool and speak your customer's language. You put their name, their LinkedIn URL, and the company name, and that's it. And it's going to spit out all this really good information about what we use to build these profiles for this mass outreach that we do for customers. Okay. Then another tool you can use, here's an icebreaker. So this is more for email marketing, okay, not LinkedIn. And we're going to give you something similar for LinkedIn, but you'll also have access to the icebreaker tool. And the icebreaker tool, you just put in their LinkedIn profile, you put in the first name of your prospect, and it'll spit out a custom link icebreaker where we use a compliment. And let me give you an example of something that this looks like. I'm going to put in my link profile and I'm going to run the tool. And basically, it's going to scrape my LinkedIn profile and it's going to spit out an icebreaker for a cold email. Hey, I really admire your work at Ada Sales Systems, especially with the Cold to Gold initiative. It's a great example of how AI can change the game in sales. With your 20 years of experience in sales leadership, it's clear you're dedicated to helping teams in the telecom and tech industry succeed. So instead of just a template, I can insert this as the first sentence into the email outreach. So it's going to increase the likelihood that they'll respond, right? Also have a similar tool for called Connection Surge, just gives you basically the same thing. But you're going to put in your LinkedIn profile. So it's going to find some commonality between you and the prospect you're reaching out to on LinkedIn. Okay. So that personalized connection request. Hey, we're both connections with yada yada, want to connect. Hey, I see we're both in the tech industry, want to connect, right? So it'll build a custom outreach there. And then of course the profile connection. So upgrade your LinkedIn. So this adds for just some real LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile URL. It's going to audit that. You put in a link to like products that you sell, your work email to find your domain for the company you work for. And we would scrape that. And then who you're targeting, right? Who your ideal customer targets. Say I'm talking C-level, right? You just put C-level. And then the ideal customer profile industry. So if you're targeting, you could put up to 2 industries in here, telecom and tech, right? And then you run the tool, it's going to spit out your headline. It's going to spit out suggestions for your picture and everything, right? Some really good stuff there. Okay. And then the last thing is Ada Linked. Ada Linked, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but if you do want to automate your LinkedIn outreach, you can send those 800 lead connection requests a month using our Ada Link tool. Okay, so check that out for yourself as well. All right, you get a free 14-day trial if you want to check that out. But ultimately, some really good free tools here for you. And let's jump back into that. So hopefully you have a good understanding of what that is. So let's recap. All right. First, you're going to identify customers, ideally using LinkedIn Sales Navigator. All right, first, you're going to optimize your profile. You're only going to have to do that one time. Okay. Then you're going to identify your top wins, right? So if you want to do a new campaign each month, you would do this monthly. If you're going to build a larger list, you could do this once a quarter, right? Then you're going to build your list. Again, you could do that monthly or you could do that quarterly. After that, you use AI to evaluate your prospect data. You help use AI to write your messages. You can actually train this language model on you. Okay, you could feed it all these examples of emails you've sent, things you've written, content posts. There's all kinds of ways to do this, and you upload it, and you can create like a persona of yourself, and ultimately it'll write these messages for you. It's really powerful. And then, of course, automate your outreach. There's tools on the market. We have one that we feel is the best, obviously, but ultimately it can automate your appointments, your outreach, your connection requests, your emails, everything all through that tool, in addition to congratulating people on their jobs, happy birthday, and sequences, right? And so really, if you think about what your time is worth, that's really, I like to use the analogy of New York City to LA, right? Back before cars, it took 117 days on average to get from New York City to LA, right? When they reinvented that, they didn't say, let's put an engine on a horse. They built the car, right? Now it takes you 4 days and change if you wanted to drive from New York City to LA, okay? Now, what we're talking about with AI is having breakfast in New York City and lunch in LA using a supersonic jet. You could do things that you could not do 150 years ago, right? You could do things you could do that you couldn't do 3 years ago. and it's changing so fast that you can use these things to really change. Forbes said the way business fundamentally operates and sells is changed for good. That's AI. It's literally done. So if we're not using these things there, so my short spiel, if you want to use these things and you want to schedule some time with us to see how AI can impact your business, of course, you're welcome to do that. We have a free tool on the site that I'm going to send you, a bunch of free tools. You could use our Ada LinkedIn prospecting tool, or you could hire us to basically awaken your dead leads or do your outreach via disc profiles and nurture that. We built some pretty cool systems where it manages your inbox and responds to leads, especially if you have like high volume leads coming through, or just does your prospecting for you and basically books qualified appointments, gets rid of tire kickers, and basically does it all for you. That's really all I had. I want to thank you for joining. I appreciate you spending your time is valuable, which is why I try to keep this shorter and as quick and point to the point as possible. And again, if you'd like to schedule some time with us, you could go to adasalessystems.com/schedule, and you can schedule some time on our calendar, and we'd be happy to give you a free AI audit and how AI can be implemented into your sales process. And that's really all I have. So again, thank you. This has been Build an AI-driven LinkedIn lead generation system.